Let's get loud for the sweetheart of a storyteller, the one and only Nakia.
All my life I had to fight a semi-severe voice. See, as I was growing up, I've always been told that I was the great resistor. And to be honest, there is some truth to that. I've never been the type that just go along with just to get along. It's always had to serve me a purpose. And especially if I'm passionate about it, you can forget me going along with anything. As I was growing up, I had a boyfriend. He's sitting in the audience right there. And my mom tried to separate us. But as I told you, if I'm passionate about something, you can forget it. I am going to resist. And I resisted. And so I called him up and I told him, come meet me at my window. My window from my bedroom was in the basement. And this is not an ordinary window. This was a gutter egress window. Very small, like a half of a window. But I slithered myself on out of that window as our neighbors watched and probably shared that with my mom. But I got out of there. And so my resistance ended up in me becoming pregnant. And so we became teenage parents because I resisted. And we did a good job raising our son. He's a 31-year-old, he has his own son now. We're very proud of it. But the reality is, I resisted. And I resisted because I was passionate about my knight in shining armor. Well, as I was feeding my son, it came across the television screen. Be all you can be. Join the army. And I had that bright idea, I'm going to share this with my mom. And so I did, and she told me, girl, you crazy. You can't go in no military. You're not cut out for that work. You don't even like to listen to me. She said, you need to rethink that. And so I did. So I thought about it, and the next day I signed on. I became all that I needed to be. I signed that dotted line. And so I packed my bags, and I tearfully said my goodbyes. And I went on that bus. And every single night, I cried as I cradled my Bible, asking the good Lord to please help me get through this, while I crafted my plan to go AWOL without jail time, because I'm not cut out like that. Well, eventually, I graduated from basic training and AIT, and I was taught some very good things about myself. One, the importance of being responsible, being a better problem solver, really understanding that you have to have tough skin. So those are all of the things that I took away. And so then it was time for me to go into my career. 91 Echo is something that I had trained to become. And I showed up for work every day, and I hated it. I resisted the fact that I needed to clean someone's neglected teeth every single day and just be happy with it. But I still made it through. I got through that, and then it was time for me to transition to become a civilian. And so I eagerly became a civilian. I was very happy. And then I became an executive assistant. I dressed to impress all the time, and I showed up for work, and I hated it. I hated that too. I resisted the fact that someone was going to tell me what to order them for lunch when they could have did it themselves. That was number one. The other thing I hated was that they're going to tell me how to answer the phone when I truly was capable of doing it, but I had to do it in a certain way. And then the third thing that I resented was they were going to tell me how to draft a memo when I had graduated high school and I made it through basic training in AIT. Clearly this was not meant for me, and I resisted, and so that drove me to going to college because I did everything backwards, you know. And so I went to college, I got my degree, and then I landed my job. I fell in love with teaching. This is my mecca because I was now responsible for nurturing and driving the ambition of other little resistors, just like me. And I fell in love with that work, and I did that for year after year, and I was really good at it until I was then propelled into becoming a school principal. And so as a principal, I also kicked butt. My first principalship, it was at a school that had been 20 years historically failing. 20 years. And after a lot of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears, after year 3, we were the second highest performing in the district.
Yeah.
Second highest performing in the district. So I had crafted a name for myself. I had become that woman. And so people started chasing me, asking me, Nakia, how do you do this? How do you do that? Until one day I got a call from a CEO, and he said, Nakia. I really resisted the way that he even said my name. I wanted him to say it a little bit softer because it was soft, but yet he said it with such a harshness. Nakia, I want you to come and help me turn around my school. Now, I got to tell you something. This wasn't an ordinary school. This is a school with 70% students who had special needs. When I did my first walkthrough, in every corridor of the school, there were children fighting. There were people restraining children because they were emotionally dysregulated. As I walked through the hallways, there were teachers covering their doors, and then there was one that was mouthing, literally, help me. And so I took on that challenge, and we did significant work. And after 3 years, we were stable. Children were learning. Teachers were happy. It had become a stabilized environment, very similar to my first principalship experience. And then the call came. Nakia? Yes, sir. It was a good thing we were on the other line, like we were on the phone, because my resting face is not as pleasant as how I feel. But I said, yes, sir. He said, we have a problem. And I said, okay, sir. Tell me more. Your budget. Your budget is too high. You need to slash it in half. Now, I must tell you, of course I resisted. But in my head, what I was saying was, you got to be crazy. You must have bumped your pumpkin baseball head if you think that I'm going to break the law and commit crime against my own beautiful people. You're wrong. That's not going to happen. Well, as you can imagine, I resisted, and it didn't turn out so well. He ended pushing me out of my position. I sued his crooked tail, and I'm going to say it right here, but you know what the rest is. And we settled. Many people ask me, Nakia, would you do all of that over again? Would you resist in the manner that you did? And I would say yes. I would say yes, I would resist 10 toes down, no matter what. That's just who I am. But the reality is, I would do it differently. I would do it so that it's distributed. Because resisting can be very lonely. In fact, it is very lonely, and it can be very costly. I was one of the fortunate ones to land back on my feet. It didn't in my career, but I can tell you that socially, mentally, and physically, it played a cost on my health. And so now what I do 10 years later is I'm helping other leaders. I'm still kicking butt and taking names, but I'm just doing it in a different way. I'm helping prepare this next cadre of leaders so that they understand how to resist, how to stay in the game, how to stay 10 toes down, stand your ground, making sure that you are making decisions that are in the best interest of children. And so yes, while I've had to fight all of my life, and so it feels, I'm also a survivor. And I won't give up. I'm going to not stop, but I'm going to work harder. Just different. Thank you.